Welcome to HCA Talks Health, brought to you by Health Coaches Academy, the UK's leading health coach training academy. I'm your host, Zena Le Roux, a certified health coach, and each fortnight I'm joined by experts from across the health and well-being space to share insights, ideas, and practical tips you can use to improve your health and everyday well-being. And with me today is Fred Ford. Fred is a motivational speaker and he's also the author of an international bestseller, Think and Grow Thin, a groundbreaking roadmap for health, resilience, and goal achievement that helps people transform from the inside out. Welcome, Fred. It's good to have you.
Thank you so much, Zena. It's great to be here.
I want to start with your own journey. So you went through your own transformation, and actually, what I'm quite interested in is beginning at age 61, you went through your own transformation and you lost about 130 pounds. So
100,
please tell us more about this.
Well, the at I had struggled with weight for 3 decades. I was an athlete in college and high school, and post-college, I started to put on weight very gradually, like most people. It didn't happen overnight. And went on that weight loss, weight gain roller coaster for basically 3 decades. I would get to a point where I thought, I got to do something. I would go on the diet. I would join the gym. I'd lose weight temporarily, and then I'd go off the diet and stop going to the gym. And it was a predictable pattern that, again, it was weight loss, weight gain, but the basic the curve was like this, and it resulted in, when I got to 61 years old, I was 350.2 pounds, and that was kind of one of the low points. But that was basically, like a lot of people who struggle with weight. I had kind of given in and resigned myself to the story that I'm just a person who struggles with weight. And
Mm,
it was that identity
mm,
that kept me trapped in the weight loss, weight gain roller coaster, chasing the latest quick fix. And
mm,
that's kind of the story of my obesity.
mm. So that's quite interesting. So it kind of got into your identity. I'm someone who's always going to struggle with weight. It's just part of who I am. So
Right.
what changed this time? I guess it was more of a mindset thing. What did you do this time?
100% mindset. It's what happened was, there were two defining moments in my journey. One was on my 60th birthday. My wife, my daughter, and myself went to Walt Disney World for a vacation to celebrate my birthday, and we got to the Avatar ride in Animal Kingdom, which is a great ride, a Flight of Passage, I think it's called. And you ride on this ride it's an indoor virtual reality 3D, really crazy ride. And you ride on your own individual Banshee. So it's like a low riding motorcycle. And as you get on the ride, a harness comes into place and clicks into place. I was too fat. Excuse me. The harness wouldn't click into place. And I was mortified. I was embarrassed. I was angry. I was ashamed. I was escorted off the ride, leaving my wife and my daughter to ride. And I still didn't do anything after that. And then COVID hit, and my post-COVID weight, having now I wasn't doing anything. I wasn't going outside. I wasn't walking to and from the office building. I mean, my physical activity was reduced to nothing. And I stepped on the scale on March 1st, 2021, to find that I was 350.2 pounds. And I decided I had to do something. I was on a fast track to premature death. I have heart disease in my family. Um, and so, as I'd done every other time for 30 years, I decided to go on a diet. And I picked up a book called Bright Lines Eating. And on page 3 of that book, the author states that of the people who are obese trying to get thin, who go on diets, the failure rate is 99%, literally.
Wow.
And at that point, I closed the book. I put the book down. And the turning point in this whole journey for me, I closed my eyes. I imagined myself sitting across from God, and I said, I am scared. I'm confused. I don't know what to do, but I want to be a one percenter. That was the difference. I began to identify from day one as a one percenter and not as a person who's struggling to lose weight. And that made all the difference. In retrospect and hindsight, that prayer that I spoke, and most weight loss programs don't have any kind of spiritual element. Get our product, join our gym, get our surgery, take our drug. That's going to lead you to the promised land. Why are we cutting spirituality out of this? You don't have to be religious. I'm not saying that. I'm saying that to involve a higher being in your journey for me made all the difference. That decision to be a one percenter was the difference.
Okay. So there was a bit of a breakthrough moment for you there where you realized, I want to be a one percenter, but also realizing that you don't want to do this alone, and like you said, calling upon a higher being to help you through this. Um, what were some of the first steps that you took after that realization? What did you do after that?
Well, the first thing I did, as I've done in a lot of other areas of my life, is I got out an index card and I wrote specifically what I intended to weigh, when I intended to weigh, and what I was going to do in exchange for that. I had read a book years ago called Think and Grow Rich,
Mm,
which lays out a template where you write down how much money you want, when you're going to have it, what you're going to do in exchange for that.
mm,
And I had done that. I had actually used the Think and Grow Rich theory to manifest certain money and success in writing books and businesses and whatnot. And when I cracked open that book on day one, I said, okay, I'm going to create a goal here, but I'm going to substitute weight loss for the amount of money. And, he has on such and such a date, I will have, blah, blah, blah. So I'm following that theory. And I also trained with a guy named Bob Proctor from The Secret. He was featured as one of the speakers in The Secret. And he taught us to treat the goal as a done deal. So you're living in the moment right now, but you're giving thanks as if it's already a done deal. So write out the goal on such and such a date. I am so happy and grateful now that, so it's as if it exists in fact and not something to be done down the road. So I got out my index card and I was writing out the index card on such and such. I had done the math and said, okay, it's going to take me 2 years and 3 months to get from 350 to 215. So on May 3rd, 2023, I'm so happy and grateful now that Zena, I swear to you, I dropped my pen as I was writing when I realized I'm going to think and grow thin. Oh my gosh, why did I never think of this before? I'm going to think and grow thin. And I literally continued writing. And that index card I've read, and now I rewrite my goal, but I've read that index card twice a day, every day for years. And that was the first thing I did as I wrote a goal and I assumed the 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 feeling of the wish fulfilled. I began to identify as a one percenter and
mm,
not as a person who's struggling with weight.
mm,
And that index card and that prayer and that assumption,
mm.
that identification as a one percenter, those were the first things I did in this journey, and they made all the difference.
Mm. And I guess that was the beginning of your book, right? Just the
Well,
idea.
the beginning of the book, yeah, I've written several books, and never a book that I was intending to bring to a large audience. And I was 6 months into the journey, and I was getting results, and I was starting to really things were starting to really register. I was learning more about myself and my triggers. I was learning about nutrition. I was learning really a lot about applying this and reading the goals every day, and I was really making progress. So I put it out there to the general public that I'm looking for people to participate in a Think and Grow Thin mastermind group. It's a year-long program, and a bunch of people stepped up, and I led two coaching groups through the program. Everyone got great results. And during that process, I thought, you know what? I'm going to write a book and put it out there. using the feedback I'm getting from my coaching clients and using my own experience and all the knowledge I had. I've studied personal development for 30 years. So incorporating those ideas into a weight loss goal and not just a success or business or money manifestation. I'm going to write this book, and I was divinely guided through that whole process. I published the book many years after I had started the journey, using a lot of the personal stories that I'm telling you now. And I reached international best-selling status in October 2024, last year.
Mm.
And we're on to something. And I just want to share the information with as many people as possible because I honestly believe 100% that everyone can be a one percenter, but you really have to start to identify as a one percenter. So really what led to the book was my love for writing, my love for speaking. And as I got through this journey, I thought, I got to write a book, you know. So it wasn't really initially the thought to have a book, but when I got the success and I got some feedback from others, I thought, let me write a book.
Great. So you've mentioned quite a few times now that you identify as a one percenter. So going one step back, that uh, piece that you've read on 99% of diets fail. Why is that, do you think? Thinking back to your own journey and your own life.
I think because diets focus on behavior change, restriction, they're almost they're exhausting because they're forcing you to, you know, change your behavior in the short term. They're not promoting a shift in identity.
Mm.
They're basically telling you don't do this, don't do that. So it's the restriction, it's the behavior, and people are going to eventually rebel against that. You know, diets for me for years were just completely exhausting. Every diet works in the short term, but if you're not making permanent changes to your lifestyle and your behavior, if you're not identifying as a one percenter, then you are identifying as a 99 percenter, which is I'm struggling with weight. I think it was put best by James Clear wrote a book called Atomic Habits. I don't know if you're familiar with it.
Mm.
Great book.
Mm.
And what he said is, you know, the change in identity makes all the difference. And the example he uses is people who have quit smoking. So you have two people who've quit smoking. And the one person is approached and said, would you like a cigarette? And that person responds, no, I'm trying to quit. Okay. And then the same person goes to another person who's trying to quit smoking and says, would you like a cigarette? And that person says, no, I'm a non-smoker.
Mm.
Do you see the difference there? The
Mm.
one person, I'm trying to quit, that implies effort. That implies withdrawal. It implies all kinds of difficulty. Whereas the other person is saying, I'm a non-smoker. Very simply, very quietly, very nonchalantly, no, I'm a non-smoker.
Yeah.
Nothing. There's no effort involved there. You're just restating your identity. To a large extent, I do that all the time. I don't say back to the person, no, I'm a one percenter. I don't want your chips and dip. I don't want your ice cream. But when someone offers me something, I say, no, thank you. And in my mind, I'm saying, I'm a one percenter. I don't do that. I don't eat that type of
Yeah.
food anymore. That's the
Yeah.
so really that is such a big thing, and it's an ongoing thing. There's no finish line to being a one percenter. You just get a little bit better every day. You recommit every day. That's what I've been doing for 5 years.
Mm. So you kind of are the person today that you want to be in future. You're already bringing something about that vision into your everyday life, instead of thinking, oh, one day I'll get there.
Absolutely. You know, one of the things that's hard for people to accept, but the people who come into my coaching program, I tell them the good news, bad news is there is no finish line. That's bad news because we all want that Rocky Balboa moment. You know, we want that mountaintop moment where we celebrate and we do, and you'll have that moment when you reach your goal weight, as I did. You'll have a great celebration. But then what?
Mm.
What happens? You know, the bigger mountain to climb is maintaining that weight, is recommitting to the lifestyle changes that got you to the weight loss in the first place, is recommitting to those lifestyle changes that align with your identity as a one percenter. And
Mm,
that's something that never changes. You have to make a permanent, and that's bad news in that the implication here is that it's not easy, and it isn't.
mm,
That's what's being promised to people when they get advertisements for weight loss products is get our drug, take our diet, join our gym, and all your problems will be solved. And that is a lie. You
mm,
know, it's a combination of lifestyle choices that you have to recommit to every day. It's not a quick fix. If there is a quick fix, it's called consistency. If you will consistently do the things that got you to the weight loss in the first place, and
mm,
if you will do those things, whether you feel like it or not,
mm.
believe me, I walk every day now. I'm 66 years old. I walk 7.5 to 8.5 miles every day, and I never feel like taking a walk. Before I go and put my sneakers on, I never feel like going. But
Yeah,
now it's a habit. I put my sneakers on, I put my stuff on, and I go.
yeah.
So that's the big distinction is you have to commit every day, recommit every day, and know that it's a journey. It's not a destination. And when you've been able to embrace that and internalize that and say this is going to be a lifelong
Mm,
commitment
mm,
one day at a time. you
mm.
know you now live in that space of a one percenter every single day.
Mm. So if you kind of linking it with your own identity, do you feel like it needs to be more of an intrinsic motivation compared to an extrinsic one? Is it something that needs to come from inside?
100%.
Yeah.
you and you need to surround yourself with like-minded thinkers. I'm not saying that there's nothing extrinsic, but it is very much intrinsic. We think in pictures.
Mm,
That's a distinction that I tell people. So
mm,
if I told you, think of your bed, what would happen? So in the movie screen of your mind, you see a picture of your bed. If I said, think of your car, what happens? Instantly and automatically, there's a picture of your car. Now, what if I said, think of your ideal life? For most people,
mm.
screen goes blank because they never contemplated that.
Yeah.
Therefore, they have nothing to live into.
Mm,
We we think in pictures, and uh, our thoughts become our reality. So if you don't have an image to work with of yourself at your goal weight, you're going to continue to, what are you going to do? You're going to continue to struggle because that's your thought process. That's what you're identifying with, someone who struggles with weight. And how does that look on the movie screen of your mind? The weight loss, weight gain roller coaster, trying to, resisting all the stuff that I love, and it's so hard. And so I started with an image of myself in college. That was 1981 when I was in the best shape of my life. I had an image, I had that picture. I would stare at that picture for 5 minutes and I would repeat affirmations about why I'm so happy to be at this weight again. That was the image that I lived into, literally.
mm,
So I stopped the struggle and all the images of what I automatically did. And most people are doing that. Most people are reliving their own personal version of Groundhog's Day. They're just living the same life, thinking that they're trapped in a body that they can't help or get to better shape. When the truth is, intrinsically, if you got that image, planted that image in your mind, and began immediately, one day at a time, to take the steps to get to that image.
mm.
Imagined reality is reality. Your subconscious mind doesn't know the difference between what's imagined and what's real. So if you're living from the end, and most people are thinking of the end, which means I'm not there and it's going to be a struggle to get there. I'm thinking from the end, meaning I'm there.
Yeah.
That's my reality. Now I just have to take the steps every day very simply
Yeah.
and recommit to the walk, drinking lots of water, eating healthy food, visualizing, whatever other things were involved. So yeah, it was intrinsic. It's got to be intrinsic. You have to want it deep down, and you have to live from the inside out, which is something I say probably 50 times in my book. You're living your reality from the inside out. And if you're living the same tired thoughts over and over again, you're going to have the same results.
Our thoughts are so powerful, and I mean, there's that very familiar or popular statement saying that you whether you think you can or you can't, you're probably right. Um,
Yeah.
So it's true. It's very powerful in terms of how we whether we achieve our goals going forward. So you've mentioned quite a few times how important consistency is, taking consistent action every single day, showing up, choosing once again. So tell me more about what some of these things are that you do daily or weekly that you need to choose and commit to every day.
It's not a big list.
Mm,
And one thing that I say to my coaching clients and people when I get on the stage to talk is the philosophy that I have here is based on success principles, which are not mine. I
mm,
didn't make up these success principles. I took them from various books that I've
yeah,
read and I applied them to weight loss goal. And the system that I created is really very simple, but don't confuse simple with easy.
yeah.
It's not easy.
Mm,
Getting a big goal in any capacity is not easy. However, when you break it down to the small steps you have to take, small incremental steps lead to remarkable results, which is the subtitle of the book that I referenced earlier about by Mark Clear,
yeah.
not Mark, James Clear, Atomic Habits. What do I do daily? I get up early. I didn't used to do that. I get into prayer, meditation, first thing when I wake up. Actually, the first thing I do is drink 18 ounces of cold water with fresh lemon.
Mm,
That's something I've been doing for several years now, every single day. Um, when I'm done that, I visualize every single day. I visualize something, and there's all kinds of techniques, but sometimes it's just me thinking, just imagining myself in my ideal body. Then throughout the day, I plan my meals ahead, and that eliminates the guesswork. It eliminates the eating on the fly decisions, which are always bad ones. I drink lots of water every day. I stay hydrated. I try to get 1% better every day. I
mm,
take a walk every day, every single day. And I've incorporated strength conditioning 3 times a week with the walk.
yeah.
Um, I think like a 1%er. That's one of the biggest differences. And these are all things that are consistent. Those are the things that I do every single day. When I fail in one way or the other, when I fall, I just get up,
Yeah.
brush myself off, and keep going. When you think about your journey to lose weight or to get to an ideal weight and then beyond, uh, it can really be reduced to a simple math problem. If you'll get up one more time than you fall, you win. Your success is assured with mathematical certainty. So the answer to your question, what do I do consistently? I do the small things every single day, whether I feel like it or not, whether anyone is noticing or not. I'm
Mm,
not doing this to find an audience or impress anybody. I'm doing this because I wanted to save my own life because I feel like I had a lot of things to live for. And as a result, here I am now, 135 pounds down. I sent you a before and after picture, and that was not photoshopped. I mean,
yeah.
I legitimately lost the weight this way without drugs,
Yeah.
without starving myself. Just simple steps that I took every single day, whether I feel like it or not. That's a big point that I want to stress because a lot of times people are just kind of the motivation initially is big, but the motivation will wear off.
Mm,
Eventually, you have to start doing the things, even when the motivation is not necessarily there, when you don't feel like doing it. On those days when it's cloudy or rainy, or as we have here, we've endured a pretty bad winter with a lot of snowfall. I was out there in the snow, I was out there in the cold, walking every single day. So consistency is the silver bullet here.
Have you ever wondered whether you could turn your interest in health and wellness into a meaningful career? At Health Coaches Academy, we train people just like you to become professional health and wellness coaches through our Level 5 diploma. It's a 12-month part-time course, fully accredited, and designed to give you the skills, confidence, and practical knowledge to help others transform their health while building a career you love. If this sounds like something you'd like to explore, visit healthcoachesacademy.com. Now, back to the show. Are there any challenges that you still experience? I mean, you've mentioned the weather, but you still go for that walk. We just want to hear that you are still human, Fred. Are there things that happens that come in the way, challenges that you still experience while trying to maintain what you've achieved?
Someone asked me a question not too long ago, a few months ago. Um, how often were you tempted to quit?
Yeah,
And I gave them my honest answer every single day.
really.
Because the possibility of quitting is just that. It's a possibility. And all possibilities exist at all times.
Mm,
So you're going to be tempted to quit from time to time. You're
mm,
going to be tempted to skip the workout. You're going to be tempted to do this, that, or the other thing. Um, what do I have to work on? Everything. It's become habitual now, but I am aware of the possibility of going back to eating the way I used to eat. And my little tiny ego and the voice of my ego says, have that bag of chips. It won't kill you. And my ego would be right. The bag of chips won't kill me. And avoiding the bag of chips won't make me healthy. It's the little commitments and habits that build that interest. It's like depositing a little bit of money into your bank account. It won't make you rich, but over time, it's that compound interest that builds your fortune. Your health fortune is built one decision, one action step, one healthy meal, one long walk, one glass of water at a time. It's a building block of those type of things. So what do I come across on a daily basis was your initial question. And my answer to you is every one of these things is a decision that I have to recommit to every day. Take nothing for granted and don't get cocky. Don't get overconfident that, hey, I've done this and now you're not out of the woods. You have to recommit every day. And that's called mastery. And mastery is something that has no finish line. There's a great proverb, and I forget where it comes from. Um, Before enlightenment, chop wood, carry water.
mm,
After enlightenment, chop wood, carry water.
yeah,
That's the continuity of life. That's
yeah.
that's what got you here is what's going to continue to get you a little bit further up the mountain or
Like
allow you to plateau at that weight.
I like that a lot. Yeah. So yeah, I mean it's interesting because I think there's many people out there often feeling or saying as an excuse, I just don't feel like it today. Yes, the weather's not good or not today. And I'm sure that's something you've experienced for yourself quite often, but also hear from the people around you saying, I don't feel like it. What would your response be to someone saying something like that?
I would say I completely relate to what you're saying.
Mm,
That was me for 30 years. I just didn't feel like it.
mm,
Um, the reality is when you can take responsibility for your weight and your result, you're going to have to understand that most of the time, a lot of the time, you're not going to feel like doing the work. And when you're able to get beyond that initial feeling and say, however, I'm a one percenter, and for one day I'm committing to this program. So I'm going to do the work whether I feel like it or not. One of the mindsets that I come across a lot with people is they'll say, I admire what you did. At 61 years old, that's great. But the thought of going on another diet, it's just the thought of that makes me tired. I can't.
yeah.
And my distinction there with them is think of it this way. You are not starting over. You are picking up where you left off. Every single diet, every single attempt to lose weight that you initially succeeded at, but then failed at, was a stepping stone, a learning opportunity that has brought you to this point in your life where you now realize, okay, I have all that knowledge, I have all that experience behind me. I'm now going to assume the identity of a one percenter. Thomas Edison, the best answer ever, was asked about his light bulb invention, which supposedly he did 10,000 experiments before he got the light bulb. And he was asked by a reporter, how did it feel to fail 9,999 times? And he said, I didn't fail 9,999 times. The light bulb was an invention that required 10,000 steps.
Yeah.
What a great answer. But
Yeah.
that's what I'm telling people with respect to now. I deal mostly with people from 50 plus years old, and that's a demographic that's drastically underserved in the weight loss and the health wellness industry because they're prey to the advertisers for drugs and all these other things. They need to understand that everything they did to this point in their life led to this moment when they're going to commit to once and for all the lifestyle changes that are going to get them there. And that's really the mindset that it requires. And it's not one thing, and it's not one day, and it's not one moment. It's a lifestyle change, and it's a lot of lifestyle changes brought together in one wonderful, worthwhile goal.
Yeah. And once again, instead of taking all the failures into your identity, it's about using that knowledge from the past going forward.
100%. As I tell people, use those temporary failures as stepping stones and not gravestones. You know, that's what they are. They're stepping stones to a greater future until you say, I can't do this, in which case the universe responds in kind and says, okay, you can't. You're going to be fat the rest of your life. That's something that you have created. You think it's, you're a victim of circumstances or it's just too hard. The truth is, at any given moment, you can shift, become a one percenter and say, I am a one percenter and I am committed 100% to doing the things that I need to do. Yeah, we all experience difficulties, obstacles, lifestyle, sicknesses, deaths in the family. There's all kinds of things that can derail us temporarily. But understanding that everything is working for your best good and having that attitude of mind, that is so critical. It's the most critical part of the journey, honestly.
I'm quite curious. So now that you've lost the weight, how is life different for you now compared to
Oh,
previously?
um, your broadcast is only 1 hour, so I couldn't possibly fit in. Um, I, it's changed everything. Um, I have greater energy. I have greater sex drive at 66. My wife's very happy about that. Um, it gives me motivation to get onto the stage, something I've always wanted to do, but I did not with my full heart. I did it because I thought I was a good speaker and I had some good topics to talk about. But now I get onto the stage and even when I'm not being paid anything to speak, I am completely engaged. I have greater energy for life. I have a greater relationship with God. Honestly, it's changed my spiritual life. It's changed the way I think. It's certainly changed the way that I interact in life and in restaurants and on vacations, at family functions. It's changed everything. I'm spiritually uh, enlightened. I'm intellectually, my nutrition IQ has been raised. I'm physically in better condition than I've been in many, many years. I get onto an airplane now. I don't have to ask for the extender belt. Believe it or not, that's a big deal for me because when I first did that, I was tempted to ask for the. I said, "Oh, well, let me see if the actual seatbelt will fit." And when it fit,
Right.
oh my gosh, I'll give you a story about 2022. Now we went back, my wife and I, for our anniversary. We went back to Walt Disney World for the first time since that fateful day when I couldn't fit on the ride, the Avatar ride, and my daughter was back at college, so she wasn't with us. We were celebrating our 30th wedding anniversary. And as we're walking through Animal Kingdom, my wife very quietly says to me, do you want to try the Avatar ride? And without looking at her, very somberly, I said, yes. And we waited in line for that ride, and my heart was in my throat. And I got onto the Banshee, and the thing came into place. They clicked into place, and this relief washed over me. And the ride was great as advertised, but honestly, fitting on that ride was far more thrilling than the ride itself.
Can
I
imagine.
get off that ride and I exited with the other riders. I walked outside into the Florida sun and I was 5 steps outside And I fell to my knees and I cried my eyes out. And until that point, I hadn't realized how much shame, how much anger, how much embarrassment, how much self-loathing that I was carrying with me. And in that one moment, I was emancipated. I remember drying my eyes and going over to a park bench on the side of the road of the walkway and texting my daughter who was back at school, "Honey, I just want you to know I fit on the Avatar ride and I will never be fat again.
Mm.
No more shame, no more embarrassment." I'm sorry, I can't tell this story without getting emotional. But she came back with uh, Daddy, yay. I was never ashamed of you. I was never embarrassed with you. And it was that moment, talk about how has it changed my life? That moment, which stands out in my mind as the seminal moment in my journey, was the moment that I decided I'm going to bring Think and Grow Thin into the world in a book, in a coaching program. I'm going to speak about it because it was at that moment that I realized if I could help one person and uh, experience what I had experienced after that Avatar ride, then that's what I want to do the rest of my life. And that was really the biggest change was realizing this is something that can change everything. This is something that can emancipate you from a lifetime of weight loss, weight gain roller coaster.
Wow. Sure. I can imagine. So it absolutely it changed everything. It's so much more than that number on the scale, right?
100%. It's so much more. Like I said, across the board. Spiritually, intellectually, sexually, energy-wise. My confidence level, which was never really lacking to begin with, honestly, even when I was very heavy,
Mm.
soared because now I can go, even people who reject and say, the holistic approach, yeah, you got to get on the drug. Okay, whatever, that be your reality. But my confidence has gone up. My ability to communicate the ideas has increased because I now believe it and live this. Everything changed. Yeah.
Is that what you expected when you first thought of losing the weight? Is that kind of what you had in mind?
That's a great question. And my honest answer is no, because I had never been to that mountaintop, so I didn't know what to experience. I
Mm.
did intend to get there. So I did fully expect that I was going to get to 215 pounds from 350, starting at age 61, which is
Mm.
just unheard of. But when it happened, um, what I experienced was far greater and far more wide-ranging in terms of the benefit and how it unfolded in my life. So I wasn't anticipating that. I was anticipating the physical goal of
Yeah.
getting to 215. I wasn't anticipating all the rest of the things that I anticipated. And that's another reason why I'm so committed to helping people is, things are going to change that you're not, and everyone's journey is going to be a little bit different. Things are going to change that, you might not expect to change. But, if you do the work, if you do the work, whether you feel like it or not, if you make the commitment and the recommitment and the recommitment, and you see that little exponential, those little changes taking place, and you look back, you're going to realize the physical goal in retrospect, in hindsight, and you're not going to notice the changes along the way. But, if you're keeping a good journal and you're being honest with yourself, you'll say, wow, I had the capability to do this all the time. Thank God I took this intrinsic motivation, as you put it, and put it to use in a positive way and stopped, telling that story about how I struggle with weight. What a what a difference.
Yeah. But what a journey you've been on, Fred. And I can imagine
Yeah,
you want to shout it from the rooftops. You want other people to know what is possible.
from the mountaintop. Yes,
That's
absolutely.
it. Please tell us about some of the ways that you do support people. Do you only do motivational speaking, or I mean, people can buy your book, or what ways could they possibly work with?
Yeah, I
Mm.
do. I do a lot of different things. I do motivational speaking. I also do workshops. 3-hour workshops. I do a boot camp, which is an 8 to 10 week program. I have a program that's a year-long Think and Grow Thin mastermind group. I also do work with corporations where I incorporate the same principles, Think and Grow Thin, and I call it Think and Grow Fit. So I'm not targeting necessarily heavy people,
Yeah.
but a lot of corporations have budgets that they invest in their workforce, and I bring this program to corporations for a 10-week program where I do a keynote at the start, and then I work with them on Zoom calls like this for 10 weeks, and I do a keynote at the end. And we set very big goals and parameters where we incorporate all this stuff. So I do a variety, and the book, of course, is available, and I recommend if people want to check out and see what it's all about, to get the book. But I have a number of different ways that I share this information, and I'm really looking to get onto podcasts like this. I thank you for the work that you're doing. I think it's so important and it's so critical to our world nowadays, in a world that's become addicted to fast food and quick fixes. You're doing great work, Zena, and I appreciate that. And I appreciate the opportunity to be on here to share, my journey with your audience. And I'm doing it in as many ways as I can, whether it be podcasts or Zoom calls or coaching calls or
Mm.
conferences. And I'm going to be speaking at an obesity conference in Boston in October. Looking forward to that. So a
Good.
lot of different things that I'm doing. I'm writing another book now that has primarily to do with the health, excuse me, the food element of it. It's called Man versus Food: The Untold Story, which is all about all the traps we fall ourselves into and all the lies that we're being told and all the half truths that we're buying into. So yeah, it's an ongoing thing, and I'm just looking for ways to share the information in whatever way I can.
Hmm. We're gonna have to do a second episode, I see, on the food topic.
I'll be ready for whenever you're ready, and no matter what the time zone difference is.
Yes. Okay. All right. So for people listening today, what would be your one thing, take home message that you would like them to have or take home? What would that be?
That's a great question. I was on podcast when I first lost the weight. This is about 3 or 4 years ago, and I went through the entire Think and Grow Thin program. And at the end of the podcast, the interviewer said, "Okay, so we've gone through the whole program. Give us like 2 or 3 things that people have to do in order." And I thought, I just went through the whole program. What do you mean 2 or 3 things? And the answer that I gave him is the answer that I'm going to give you. There's only 3 things you have to do to think and grow thin or to reach any major goal. 3 things. One, get intentional and specific about what you want. What is the goal you want to reach and when do you want to reach it? Number one, and get started. Number two, create a plan, say a prayer, and start stepping in the direction of your plan every single day. And number three, once you've started, don't stop. That's the whole strategy. That's
Mm,
the whole strategy. Be intentional with what you want. Be very specific. Plant that image in your mind. Get a plan together and release that plan to the universe, to your higher power, and then take a step in the direction of your prayer word. And once you've taken that first step, don't stop. It's simple but not easy. That's my takeaway to people is if they will commit to those 3 things, it won't be easy, but that is the blueprint in its entirety. Get specific, get started, say the prayer and step out. And once you've stepped out, don't stop.
just keep going. Yeah.
Keep going.
Keep recommitting every day. Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, that's it. The recommitment every day is important. Take nothing for granted. Don't get down on yourself when you fall. Don't get full of yourself when you're doing really well. Stay right in the middle there. Just commit to the work, whether you feel like it or not, whether anyone's noticing or not. And that is the magic bullet. Consistency, consistently applying these success principles, learning as you go. You're going to adjust on the fly. You're
Yeah.
not going to have the same eating habits today that you have 6 months or a year from now. And you're not going to be doing the same bodily movement. You might be getting into yoga, or you might be biking or swimming, but walking is, if I were to give some simple steps to get started. Number one, start taking a daily walk.
Mm.
Number two, start drinking, a lot of water every day. I'm told that half your body weight. So if I weigh 210, I drink 105 ounces of water, just cut it in half. And number three, stop eating sugar. So if you do those three things, very simple, you're on your way. Those are not difficult, but you might have a period of adapting, but those
Yeah.
are simple things you can do.
Yes, I love that. Thank you. So, like you said, simple, not always easy, but yeah, make
Yeah,
a choice. And I think identifying as a one percenter,
yeah,
knowing
that's
that you
key.
have the capacity to do it. So, thank you, Fred.
Good
Thank you so
capacity.
much for joining us today. And I
You're
think,
welcome. Thank you for having me.
yeah, and sharing in such an authentic and honest way, looking at your journey. And I
Yeah.
think one of the most powerful reminders is really that firstly, it's never too late, even at
No.
60,
Yeah,
70,
that's a
80.
key. If I could do it, anyone can do it. I was out of shape as anybody in my circle. And when I started at 61, if you told at that day, 61, if I said to you, I'll be walking 7.5 miles by the time I'm 66, I wouldn't have believed it, even out of my own mouth. But now that's my reality.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. So it is possible, and it's about taking one step at a time.
Right.
Thank you, Fred, and thank you to everyone listening to HCA Talks Health. We'll see you next time. Thank you for joining.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening. We hope you enjoyed this episode. Please feel free to share it with friends or family who might find it inspiring. And if you'd like more insights like this sent directly to your inbox, make sure to sign up for our fortnightly HCA Talks Health newsletter. We've popped the link in the show notes. See you next time.